Hey, welcome back to the channel. I have a product review today, more of a product comparison. So I have the brand new hot off the press Rogue Monolift 2.0 Monolift attachment, and I have the old Rogue Monolift attachment, the original. So which one of these is better? Let's get to it. Couple things. The Rogue Monolift 2, a couple advantages that it has right out of the gate over the first version. Probably the most visible advantage, it has UHMW plastic that completely lines inside where you attach it to your rack. So for those of you that are worried about your rack getting scarred up, it is completely protected, where the original, nothing. So it's going to be steel on steel onto your rack. So that's one of the biggest things. The other thing is the 2.0 Monolift attachment. It's got a sleeker design. And I'll show you some up close footage, but it has laser etched Rogue. So here's the laser etched Rogue versus the old model, which is just a sticker. Instead of the sticker, which is nice, it's smaller. There's a bunch of benefits for that. When you take it off the rack, it actually stands on its own instead of the 1.0 when you take it off the rack and you have to store it away. It's very cumbersome. It's uncomfortable to move around. It doesn't lay flat. This stores away nice and easy. So you can see the difference. The version 1 on the left doesn't stand on its own. It's kind of cumbersome to store. The version 2 stands. It's a little more compact. It's a heck of a lot easier to store. I'm dealing with a small space, so that's a huge benefit, because in my bedroom gym, I have the smallest footprint rack, the RML3. There's only 24 inches inside of this rack. Now these original 1.0 Monster Lite Monolift arms will fit on the inside of the rack, but it's barely. And so on the inside of the rack, when I take these out, the end of this arm oftentimes bangs up on here. It's a pain in the butt because this comes out so wide. In fact, if you look at it, this comes out almost 23 inches, where if I look at this way, you're only looking at less than 17 inches. So that's huge, because like I said, in between here is 24 inches. So this is going to fit on the inside of my rack easier. So that's one big advantage. The other thing is, this is so much easier to move. So when you want to adjust the height of this, you just put your hand in here. It's made for just to move just like that. So you can move it up and down your rack really, really easily. You put the detent pin in and you're done. This, to take it out, you gotta move the whole thing, find the hole. It's a lot heavier, and then put the detent pin in the back. So you'll notice the difference is the pin on the new one goes in the side versus the back. That's not insignificant if you have a Monster Lite version, because there are less holes on the side of the Monster Lite rack. So you're not able to dial it in height-wise quite as well. Well, what Rogue did to help with that is they put 3 different holes to choose from as you're figuring out your height. So there's the 3 holes. It's in the bottom hole, but you can also use the middle hole, and you can also use the top hole by moving the attachment up or down, and that gives you 2-inch spacing opportunities. So you can, if you just want to come up a little bit, same hole, just a little bit more, same hole. At the end of the day, you have about 2 inches of play to be able to adjust your height within 2-inch spacing. The old ones do, you can adjust it every inch. So that is an advantage of having the old ones. It's probably the only advantage that I can see is that you do get the adjustability of being able to change the height to every inch versus every 2 inch. A couple other things on this 2.0. They're lighter, so this is about 25.5 pounds per Monolift arm, 28.5. So you lose a few pounds, so that's nice. And they're just easier to move around is the bottom line. One of the reasons this is a sleeker design is because they re-engineered the center of mass. So, I mean, you have to have a certain mass so that when you let go, the arm will come back. And so that's why the old version had all the weight up here to do that structurally so that it would move the way it was supposed to. Rogue was the first one to come out with these that I'm aware of that you throw on racks, and everybody since then has copied them. I would look for companies to copy this newer design as well because of how sleek and nice it is. Another thing that Rogue added on the 2.0, which is a nice addition, is this little hex key. So if you want to utilize the rack just like a normal J-hook, J-cup, and you don't want it to be a Monolift arm, you put the key in and there you go. Now it doesn't move. If you don't want to do that, which normally I probably won't, you just put the key back. You're not going to lose the pin, so that's nice, and that's that. Now they do have a hole up here on the 2.0 where you could put a screw in to keep it from coming all the way back. They did the same thing with the old version. They have a hole right here that you could put a screw in to keep it coming from all the way back. I took it out in my old version and I've taken it out in this new version because as a power lifter, I like to be able to manipulate the bar how I want it to get into my position, especially when I'm using heavier weights. Some people may not want that, so it's a choice. But the other cool thing this hole does, and I'm just going to use, I think I'm just going to use a hex key, but you can put a pin in here if you wanted to, like that, and now the Monolift arm stops right here. The benefit of the Monolift arm stopping right here is if I'm doing something like an overhead press, this would be higher. So if I'm doing something like an overhead press and I'm lifting the bar off, then I can do an overhead press just like a normal J cup. If this isn't in there and I pulled the bar off, then I got to walk the bar all the way out to do my press, because if I did the press right when I took it off, this is going to be in the way. This arm's going to be in the way. Same thing with this. The older one, you could do that too. You could have put the pin in right there and utilized it as a J-cup for presses just like that. So there's really no difference, but it's a feature of these Monolift arms that I don't think they advertise. And it's really nice because when you're doing things other than bench and squat, it's not always optimal to have a Monolift arm that swings. Sometimes you just need a J-cup and you don't want everything else in the way. So this position is something I think they should advertise more, because it really is it really is cool, and I don't see it getting used very often, or at least advertised. So just like that. So I guess it comes down to price. So the new ones, and these are both Monster Lite I'm talking about, because that's what I have as a Monster Lite rack. For the 2.0, as of today, before shipping, $390 for a pair. The 1.0, $355 for a pair. So first off, which one is better? There's no question that the 2.0 is an upgrade. in the fit and finish with the laser etching. It's smaller. It's easier to move up the bar. It just looks cooler. They're easier to store. It's a nicer design. It's a really cool design. It's not like any other monolift attachment I've seen. Very much, in my opinion, very cool. It's got the pin. So that's a nicer one. The one benefit of the older one, for those that really care, is you can move it up and down the bar in 1-inch increments versus the 2-inch increments of the new one. But they are a little more expensive. So if you don't have monolift arms and you want to know if you should get a monolift arm, I'd do some research. If you do decide to get one and you don't have them, this is the one I'd go with, the 2.0, because it's awesome. If you already have this older version and you're wondering, is it worth me going and paying another almost $400 to buy something I already have? Probably not. I mean, the older version, this is great. It's super well made. You know, it works really well. But again, it doesn't have the UHMW plastic that's going to protect your bar. And for some people, that's really important to them. I have a black rack, or to protect your rack, I have a black rack. So if it gets scuffed up, I don't care about that as much. But I do like having the UHMW plastic. I really do. So anyway, that is the comparison. The 2.0 really does come through. The 2.0 really is an improvement over the 1.0. Hope you enjoyed it. Adios.